So I got alcohol markers and I just wanted a nice stand to put my colors in. I took a look on Amazon and it was $80. There was no way I was going to pay that, so I got an idea. Why not make it myself? At first, I wanted to do a crochet pouch with separators, but I also wanted to build something more solid and that would last for me. So I decided to go for a plastic material that I could easily cut. Here was my plan. I wanted a capacity of 225 markers. Honestly, I don't think I'll buy more. It helps to limit myself. So each marker would take about 2 by 2 centimeters, so it gave me those dimensions. So the box was going to be made out of corrugated plastic sheets. And I chose to do the separators for the markers out of foam sheets. I got to cutting the thing. Girl, that took a long time. Regret was beginning to build in my heart. My hands were hurting, but I finally finished and it was finally time to assemble with hot glue. Honestly, my best friend for this project. I just put glue everywhere and hoped for the best. So I got the method to do the separators after a couple of tries. Here I'll show you what I hope is a clear explanation. Time to cut and get your needle out.
So I have 2 side panels that are at full length, so it goes over the border of the square part. And then I have the 4 little shelves, we could say. And the shelves, I measured them, so just make sure that it does have the same size as the square for the horizontal part. And so I begin by dividing this part here, this size here, in 5 little sections, because there are going to be 5 not separations, but parts where you can put some pens, but with 4 separations. And so you have to remember that those parts are like this in the box, and so the shelves are like this. So those 2 parts, they have to have the same position for the shelf so that it will be centered and everything. Now we have our 2 little shelves on the side, and so I'll just take one to begin with. I'll just put it on this side there and put the other one on outside of the board. So I have my 4 shelves. I begin with the first one and I align it like this. So you keep the line on the outside of the side of the shelf, and the shelf touches this part, not this one. This one will go over the side of the square. And so I have this kind of punching tool for clay thingies, so I use this to mark where there will be some strings attached. So I just go really close to the side, but not too much, just in case it would be ripped apart. I want it to be solid. So I'll punch those. And I make sure to put one close to this side here, because I don't want the upper part of the shelf to be dangling and to just be annoying to use. And then after that, I go on the other side of the line and I spot where I already punched my shelf, and I punch again. Here it is. So I know that my shelf will be here, and there will be some strings going from both sides. And when I'm using a dark paper, I punch them all at the same time. So I would be punching those immediately, completely after, just because it gets so confusing. So when I was doing my black shelves, I was so confused because I couldn't see a thing. So that's the main example for the shelf. And then, well, I can just begin to punch it, but you can punch it after you've done all the shelves alignment. So I'll just punch it quickly. There it is. So I know that it will be in this orientation, so I just put it aside and keep it in this orientation, so it will be simply later. Once you're done with the punching and everything of this step, you can take the first shelf that you did in the beginning and place it in the first spot, align it with the holes. And then I have some wool, and you can take 3 times the size of this part in length. You cut it, and then I'll get my wool needle over there. And then this part here, you can lick it, and then you take it really close in between your fingers so that you can align the hole and just put it inside of there. That's the easiest way I found out how to do it quickly. And then you do a little knot at the end. So you take it there, and then you punch it, and you can see the hole over there. It should be aligned, or you can just take a peep in the back. There it is. And then you just do it again, and you go under, align it with the hole on this side. And there it is. So you just repeat this action. So once you're done for the shelf, you can flip it. And here I go through a couple, depending on what length of wool I still have. And then I take my needle, go under here, and go through the hole. Then I make sure that the knot is the closest possible to the alignment of the first thread there and the other one. Then I do a second one just to make sure. And I cut. There it is. Now we have the first shelf. So you repeat this step with the 3 other shelves. So it should be like this. So you have the different shelves all aligned, just like a little book. And there's a longer part here, and it's flush until the end of the side of the shelf over there. So with this, you can take this part here, and because we know that this part there, it goes over the side of the shelves, we know that it's supposed to be aligned like this. And we have the lines to prove it. So we know that we'll have to sew it like this. And so just I keep the good sense. Oh, I'll prefer like this. So we know that like this, it will give the good result. Now, all those shelves, they don't have holes yet. So we have to do the same process we did previously. It's just that for this time we really need to do all the little punches on both this part of the shelf and those here before beginning to sew, or else it's complicated, let's say it like that. Let's go. So I begin with the one closer to me, so like this. It still works. And I just align all those ones like this so that it's a bit more comfortable. And so we do the same thing. You just align the shelf with the line and then you punch close to the side, but not too close. And then here, I'll make one here and then one close to this part. And we'll go on the other side of the line. Then you find your punch holes. It's quite hard to see sometimes, so you can have a guide just by looking at this hole here. There it is. And I just punched them right now. There it is. And we can punch this one also. But since it's white, we could have waited until all the little holes were marked. But just to make it clear, I'll do it right now. So we have one that is marked and then we realign it. So this one is done, so we can go to the next one. So you align it on the second line over there and then you punch. The other side. And I really don't mind if the stitches are not aligned with the other stitches on the other shelves. It really just doesn't bother me to measure everything. It's not that useful. So you get the point. Now we realign it like that. We take the third for this one, same thing, and with the fourth for this one. So I'll just let you go with it. Now that everything is punched, you are ready to get sewing again. And so you have to make sure that you align the good shelf with the one you already aligned. So we know again that it will be like this. So the first one is over here. So you just continue. Now it's not about, you really just can't mess up the order. So you take the next one and you do the exact same thing. So there it is. We are done with the sewing part. And you see we have a beautiful shelf that we can insert in the box.
The point of this part was to get everything kind of pretty. Well, more pretty than seeing the plastic of the box. I put foam sheets and glue everywhere. Ta-da! The colors were quite random. I just used the foam sheets I already had. The outer box was a project in itself. Really, I thought in the beginning I was only going to use this big pouch as my marker case. But then, nope, I needed some structure, so that's why I added all this white box. So my first motivation to do this project was really just to get a big stand for my markers and also not pay $80. So let's check out how much it cost me. So the 56 foam sheets cost me about $20. The 2 corrugated plastic boards, $16. The wool, well, technically free because it was an old batch hidden in the basement. And then the time it took me, yeah, let's not count that, for a total of $36. And I'm just kidding, really, it was such a fun project to do, and I put a lot of time in it, and that's what makes this case quite special to me. And I also got somewhere to put my markers now, so that's great. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.